What's up, Teen Talk fam? It's your host, Miss KK, here with.
Your boy B Shaw.
Your boy DJ Daddy in the building.
It's time to get the teens talking. Anytime during our show you have a question or a comment, DM us on Instagram at Teen Talk Vegas 881. Now, it takes more than a simple post or a hashtag to make a movement happen. It takes consistency, volume, and teamwork. Rising up and voting is a part of the American culture. It's our duty to make sure the voice of the youth is heard. We proudly stand with our community in hopes to spread awareness on the importance of voting this election. Joining us now on the show is Karl Catarata, a Filipino American author and community organizer. He is currently a student at the University of Las Vegas, studying for his Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science with a minor focus in leadership and civic engagement. It's an honor to have you with us. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's Saturday. I thought it was Friday. Sorry, it's a Saturday, but I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you for joining us. And I know being a student, we get those days mixed up. So you're definitely okay here. So can you tell us how important it is to vote for this current election?
Yeah, look, it is so important to vote, right? Like we've seen so many young people get involved in so many different ways this year and last year when it comes to just getting involved for causes or issues or for candidates. So I think my biggest thing of why it's so important to vote is because it's our future, right? It's our future. Yeah. These are going to be the people who we are electing to office that will make decisions that are impacting our community, our state, our federal government, and the ways that we are going about when we go out in public. So that's the reason why I think it's the most important.
I like that. I definitely agree. I will say that I was told how important it was to vote, but I didn't really understand it exactly and kind of embrace that statement until I turned around 16 years old. And I think that's just because I started taking more government and political classes in my high school, and I actually started paying attention to the commercials on TV. So for you, when did you really grasp the fact of voting and the impact that it has on the community as well as the rest of the United States?
Yeah, I think it was a sophomore. So I went to Valley High School, and I think that was when I first started getting involved. My mentors at the time, one of them was Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson, who really helped me get out into the community and really just learn more about what's at stake when it comes to community matters, right? And I think, yeah, it was one sophomore year of high school, and I just realized everything we see like out in public is like some form or some way the government has at least touched it, right? The government has at least taken care of it or figured it out, right? When it comes to like our stores, right? You see those little licenses in the corner, or the cones on our street, or the reason why there's cracks in our street, or the reason our parks are the way that they're designed. So yeah, that's the reason why I think that voting is so important. And then also when I first started getting aware, right?
Yeah. You think about it in a very interesting way. Like everything that we do see, the government has touched in some way, which is just a very daunting fact to think about, that the government does have that much influence and that kind of, I don't want to say power, but that much control over what we do in our day-to-day lives. But I also want to ask you, what do you think we can do to get more people registered to vote?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I feel like as young people, we're always reinventing different ways, right? Reinventing different ways, which is great, which is creative, right? It shows the creativity and I would say the power of young people that we have here on this broadcast, and then also out in the streets right now, or just just our friends currently still going out to the mall or going grocery shopping right now on Saturday, or those listening in. So I think when it comes to getting more people registered to vote, we really need to tap into just talking about it as if it's not like this like special or like super like smart thing that like the nerds do, right? So I know that in like high school, like if you were like at least involved in like community service or like involvement, you were kind of just like, all right, well, they're doing too much, right? They're doing a little extra stuff, right? But we just got to talk about it as if we're just out in the street, like if we're hanging out at like Taco Bell or at like, I don't know, Starbucks or like Jamba Juice, wherever you go,
Yeah.
wherever you're at, if you're shopping at whatever mall or whatever store, you know, as I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, government is involved in some different form whatsoever. It's everywhere you see, unfortunately, right? So, you know, learning about the ways that we currently get young people to vote, like for example, social media. I know that we followed each other before this broadcast.
Yeah.
And also on our college campuses, on our high school classes, those are different ways that I see the most effective and the most results oriented, right?
I do agree. I think one of the things that I've been loving about this current election that we're in, and kind of a little irritated with, specifically when it comes to social media, is that I do feel like, and I agree with you, that voting and the culture of voting shouldn't be taboo. It should be something that people talk about on a regular day-to-day basis. It's not something that makes you seem more intelligent. It's not something that should make you seem more like you're jumping on a bandwagon. And I do feel like right now, this current election is starting to bridge the gap of that a little bit, of people feeling like they're uneducated, or people feeling like they just want to get an I vote sticker to post in their Instagram grid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's like a double-edged sword, and we're just now finally starting to like transition voting into something that people do on a regular basis.
I agree. I completely agree. Like it's like sometimes I know that other young people like to like shame other folks if like you don't know, if you don't know a specific topic or you don't know a specific issue. But look, like we're all young people and we're here to learn, right? And like we should be supporting one another, because our generation is at stake in the near future, right? It's at stake when it comes to whatever is going to happen here in Vegas, whatever is going to happen in our country. You know, we're going to be the ones who are going to be taking either the consequences or the impacts of it in the future. So whatever that may be, we at least have a choice to vote.
Exactly. And I know B Shaw has a question.
Yeah, what up, B Shaw?
Yeah. Tapping back into earlier about when you were talking about social media. How big of an impact do you think like these influencers who like encourage others to vote, like how big do you think an impact do they have on the actual elections, and should they continue to push the issue?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic. I could go on and on about it, but I guess my summary of all of it is right that look, like with people who have a lot of a following, right? If they're popular, right? When it comes to like celebrities, or influencers on like Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, right? They have like people are following them. People are listening to what they are saying. So with that, you know, it's that quote that says like, and I'm not saying that they have power, but I'm just saying that like with great power comes great responsibility, right? You have that airwave, right? You have that airwave. People are listening in. So whatever you're essentially saying, right? People are going to listen to that and be like, oh, well, I know that Drake likes this, or I like, who was the other recent, Tyler, the Creator likes this, right? Or I know that I'm a big Mac Miller fan, right? So Mac Miller was liking this or not liking that. You know, that's something that people follow too, right? So I think they do have an impact. I would say to my young peers is that you know, just be careful about what be careful about what you follow, and make your own choices, right? Make your own choices when it comes to following different influencers, and also see different influencers and what their different opinions are. I know Cardi B and who is it? Cardi B and I'm blanking out the other.
I
Nicki.
know it was that's what I'm gonna say. Cardi B and Nicki are kind of like and rivals, but not rivals. But I completely understand what you're saying, because I do feel like it's nice to have those celebrities, because most everyone on social media has followed a celebrity. You have few celebrities on your timeline. So if all of them are talking about voting, in your mind, you're subconsciously going to be thinking about voting too, because you're seeing it all the time. And I just feel like when it comes to influencers, they do have responsibility. And for me, it's just like, okay, please do not make this a one post thing. Like, continually talk about voting. And I think that's one thing I do admire about Cardi B, is that she's been very consistent about voting and about learning more and about showing that she doesn't know stuff and about showing that she does. I think that's very important, because it shows the average struggle of an uninformed voter becoming informed throughout this whole entire election. And I have another question for you that I would like to ask you is, do you feel like the voting age should be lowered, or is it reflective of how it should be already right now?
That's actually a good question, because I know that many of my other young friends, like in Florida, in DC, in Oregon, and California, they've been talking about either lowering the voter age to 18 or 14, right? I I don't know if it would happen, right? I think that's like a federal, right? I think that's like it's a federal matter. So I think that they would have to do that in the Congress, and where we're at in politics and government at like the federal level, I don't know if that would ever be able to be done.
Right.
But I definitely am a supporter of at least bringing it down to 16, right? At least bringing it down
Right.
to 16, because I feel as if that there are decisions that we all make also at 16 that, you know, I mean, with our bodies, with the way that we want to interact in the world, where we want to go to school, how we feel treated in our classrooms or around our fellow friends or peers or our teachers, right? So I definitely think that you know, we're also living and breathing beings, right, in a country that has a government. So I
Right.
think that it definitely should be lowered at least to 16. But I'm open if anyone wants to lower down to 14. That's another that's a comment.
Wow, 13.
Oh no, 14,
Yeah.
14.
Oh,
Yes,
14.
so I want to ask you, Carl, what sparked your interest on voting? Like, what's your inspiration to vote?
Yeah. Thank you, DJ Day Day. So uh there are just so many things, right? There's so many things. I mean, I think nowadays, and not to get too like super political, right, or like in the weeds of it, I just feel as if that sometimes, and I will, for the older viewers who might be listening in, right, I feel as if that young people have a lot to offer, right? We have
Right.
so much creative, we have so much creativity, we have so many creative ideas, so many great ideas to transform our communities for the better. Like if there's a crack in the street, why is there a crack on the street? Like if there's a tree hanging like over a wire, like what can we do something about that? Or hey, I want like a new, like, I don't know, Raising Canes or Starbucks here, or whatever, you know, access, right? Access
Right.
to different stores or these different resources that will touch different families or our diverse communities. Like I'm born and raised East Side, right? So, you know, being born and raised in the East Side and knowing the different limited resources that I had when I was growing up, I feel like that kind of like, it like sprinkled a little bit of awareness to me. But it really wasn't until my mentor, the late Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson, he was just like, well, these all connect somehow.
Right.
And he really taught me why it's so important.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I also feel like with lowering the voting age, I would also agree 16, because when you think about it, when we are in high school and we're 16, we have a lot more access to information. We know we're already learning about government, we're learning about what is going on. And it might as well be that we participate in voting while we're learning about it, so we have access to that information. Because a lot of the times I hear from my the older generations is that they understand what voting is, but some of the time they don't have time to research, they don't have time to look at who's running, they don't think about things that are going on because they have their own life and other people to support. So why not lower the voting age to 16, where people have enough time and enough access to information to make the best decisions? That's the way I think about the voting age and how that kind of works. But what are your thoughts on people who say their vote doesn't matter?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm a political science student, right, at UNLV. So I know that when it comes to young people, I know that there is a portion of young folks that also want to abolish the electoral college. So, which the
Yes.
electoral college means, you know, we actually don't vote for president. These electors or electors
Right.
actually do. So when it comes to that statement of like, you know, your vote doesn't matter, I would say it's like 50-50, right? When it comes to, you know, president and vice president for the electoral college, yeah, like those are different. That's definitely like a conversation we got to have, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to the electoral college. And who knows, maybe when all of us here in this chat are like 60 years old down the road, who knows what will happen to this country years from now, right?
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see where our country will be when all of us here are 60 or 70. So,
Me too.
and the other 50% of me is that your vote definitely does matter here in Nevada, right? So Nevada has a very direct like type of constitution, which means like your one vote for your state senator or your state assembly person or the judge who hopefully you don't have to go into court to face for like a traffic ticket, right?
Yeah.
You're actually voting for those people, right? You're voting for those people. And I know it can be confusing. I know it can be very tough because there's so many ads. Like you drive down on like I live near like Vegas Drive, and
Yeah.
you see like signs. You see so many signs, so many billboards. We're like pushed with like so much information, and that's completely valid, right? But that's the reason why I'm so big on like young people sticking out for other young people, right? Because
Yeah.
we should be sharing with each other. Hey, that's a good candidate who's going to respect young people. That's not a good candidate because I talk to them and they don't care about what young
Yep.
people say, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's one thing I love about Vegas is that even though it does seem like a big city, it's a very small city. So you can find somebody that knows that person running for judge or running for state senator. But how do you feel about all the ads that you were just talking about? Even though our vote doesn't really go towards the big election, how do you feel about people not advertising the smaller elections that lead to the electorals who are actually going to vote for our state? How exactly does that work?
Yeah. I think for the down the ballot ones
Yeah.
who, because I know they're like, and the term is like down the ballot for people who are like, because the president and vice president are at the top of your ballot or your paper, and the
Yeah.
down the ballot are like your judges, your city council, your county, right? Or who else? I'm blanking out on like other state assembly or XYZ. They're like in the middle. Um, so I would say I know some candidates who have not been doing so much of advertisement or like letting people know about what their campaign is all about, right?
Right.
So I definitely think that like, hey, like you should let people know what you are standing for, right? Because if people don't know what issues you care about, what you're going to bring in this elected office, and our taxes, when
Yeah.
every time we buy something, our taxes go to somewhere, right? Our taxes that we live on here go to pay that person, and yet they're not doing anything to let us know about what they're going to do when they're in that office. That's kind of sus, right? That's like
Right.
kind of suspicious. Like, what's that mean? That's interesting. That's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like that's definitely interesting that you're not communicating to your constituents or the people, right? Um, so that's what I think about like
Yeah.
why people should do more advertisements. But I'm also seeing that in the age that we're in now, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of false information, right? We're
Right.
seeing a lot of false information, and with the more information, the easier it is for incorrect information or information that is just like not even like true to be spread, and it leaves people wondering if that thing is actually true or not, right?
Right.
So yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah. And I'll add on to that. It's just I think that's one of the other downsides of, the evolution of social media and internet is that depending on who you follow, you can end up in just a funnel of information that you already agree with, to the fact of like your timeline can be customized to your own beliefs, your own thoughts. So you're never even academically or mentally challenged to think on the other side of it. So it is important for people who are listening and people who are watching this to understand that it is really good to look at the other side sometimes, because you might be surprised what you agree with and what you don't. But before we end, Karl, can you please let all of our listeners know some of the things that you are involved in and where they can follow you?
Yeah. So Karl with a K again. So so that's my nickname that people know of me. So yeah, I go to UNLV. I'm studying political science at UNLV. I'm in my last few classes to graduate. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be staying here in Nevada. So if you see me at the store, feel free to wave from a distance, right, with your
Right.
mask, right? But yeah, I'm here. You can follow me at it's like at Karl Catarata Catarata. I know it has a little jingle to it. So yeah, and I'm around, right? I'm around. I'm usually in like the downtown area. So if you like visit like the different coffee shops downtown, I'm probably there.
Okay.
But when it comes to the different organizations I'm a part of, I'm a big fan of Next Gen America. They get a lot of young people to get out and vote. There's so many different organizations I'm a part of. I don't want to like fill up the airtime
Right.
here, but yeah, I'm here to support any young people, any young person who's interested in getting involved in the election or civic involvement or whatnot here in Vegas.
Yeah,
So.
and that is awesome. Thank you all for tuning into this Teen Talk discussion today. It's important to know what type of impact your voice has. We need you to head down to the polls with us on November 3rd to take a stand. Your vote is your microphone, so get in